Hello and welcome to Study with Sudhir. This is your favorite digital classroom. My name is T.S. Sudhir. This is the ISC Class 12 Semester 1 Specimen paper, right? And this is for English literature. And in this video, we are going to specifically look at the questions relating to the Tempest, right? So without wasting any time, let's get down to Act 3, Scene 1, Scene 2, Scene 3, which is part of the Sem 1 syllabus for English literature. And for those of you who have been looking at our YouTube videos, the entire YouTube channel has the explanation of the entire Tempest. On our app, both for class 11 and class 12, we have done detailed explanations along with my personal notes so that you don't need any other book to refer to in case if you are looking at the notes which have been given. We are also giving a series of MCQs for each scene and then combined Act 3 so that you are well prepared as far as the Semester 1 examinations is concerned. For Act 4 and 5 as well as for Act 1 and 2 and for 3 for class 11, we will be doing detailed questions and answers. All that will be provided in the PDF, the thematic questions and answers, the character analysis, everything will be there as part of the Tempest 11 and Tempest 12 course. That's part of the Study with Sudhir app. This is purely for information. Okay, so let's get started with the Specimen paper for English literature. Choose the correct option below each question. What is Ferdinand doing at the beginning of Act 3, Scene 1, right? Is he cursing Prospero because he is making him do all that work? Is he gathering wood? Is he crying? Or is he plotting to escape, right? I like the kind of interesting options that have been given, and the correct answer is gathering wood. Okay. Why has Prospero given him this particular task? To punish him, to humiliate him, to test his sincerity in love, or to take revenge. Now, see the options given. To take revenge. Obviously, he wanted to take revenge from Alonzo, Antonio, Sebastian. But did that include Ferdinand as well? Well, you need to know that if you have studied the Tempest very well. Okay. To punish him, right? To humiliate him, or to test his sincerity in love. So the correct answer is C, to test his sincerity in love. Okay. What is Ferdinand? What is Ferdinand willing to become for Miranda? Now this is interesting. The King of Naples, he refers to being the King of Naples, right? Because he is under the impression that his father Alonzo is dead. A patient logman, marry her and become her husband, right? That's what he's willing to become, right? You need to know that, right? The fourth option is to be Prospero's slave for Miranda's sake. Now, the correct option is a patient logman. And if you see line number 67, line number 67 is where he actually refers to this. He says, there resides to make me slave to it, and for your sake am I this patient log man, right? So you need to have read the Tempest very, very thoroughly, and that's what MCQs test you on. For most of you, for many of you at least, who think that MCQs are going to be a walk in the park, sorry to say that is not going to happen. Questions like these are evidence that the ISC papers will actually test you whether you have read the entire text very, very carefully. Okay. So in questions like this are the real googlies. Let's go to the next page. What does Ferdinand pray should happen if he speaks false? A blight will fall on him. The gods will be angry. His best aspirations may be inverted to mischief. Miranda will marry someone else. So what will really happen? His best aspirations may be inverted to mischief. Again, this is a line from the text. Okay, so you really need to know. He says invert what best is boarded me to mischief. That's the exact line in the text. Act 3, Scene 1. Ferdinand shares a Latin root word, and this is something which we had discussed in detail in the video. To describe Miranda in Act 3, Scene 1, which word did he use? The word that he used was admired. Okay, line number 37 in the scene. Let's move forward. Let's do things fast. We don't like to waste time on study with Sudhir. What does Stefano mean when he says that Caliban has drowned his tongue in sack in Act 3, Scene 3? This was part of the MCQs that I had given as well. He was drowned in a sack. He had drunk so much that he could not speak. He was lost in thought. None of the above. The correct answer is 6th B. He had drunk so much, because you know what exactly sack means. For those of you who don't know, refer to the notes on Study with Sudhir. Which aspect of Caliban's nature is revealed through his words, bite him to death, I prithee? Savagery, uncivilized, roughness, or is it all of the above? Now, when he says bite him, now what does it kind of convey? It conveys an uncivilized behavior. Civilized people don't do that. It conveys a roughness for sure. It also conveys a very savage kind of a personality. I hope you know the meaning of the word savage. Someone who is almost, not human, and Caliban is not human. He's half monster, right? So the correct answer will be all of the above. Again here, the kind of words that will be, now whenever your meaning is asked, they will use some words which can be a little confusing, or you may not be familiar with that word, which is why at least on Study with Sudhir app, in all the courses, especially the Ashwin course, I keep emphasizing, try to read as much so that you know your vocabulary is not a very limited kind of vocabulary. Okay, so that is something class 12 students are expected to know. Why does Gonzalo say, I must rest me in Act 3, Scene 3? He's feeling sleepy. He does not want to go with Antonio, Sebastian and Antonio. This should be Alonzo. He's exhausted. He wants some time to look around the island. Okay, so what is the right answer? The right answer is that he's exhausted. He calls himself an old man, so he's exhausted. To whom is Alonzo referring to in Act 3, Scene 3 when he says he is drowned? He is referring to his son, Ferdinand. Okay, pretty simple this one. Okay, what do Antonio and Sebastian talk about while Alonzo is resting in Act 3, Scene 3? About abandoning the king's party, about making another attempt to murder Alonzo, about seizing the island for themselves, none of the above. So what do? They say that tonight itself we should make, because the previous attempt to kill King Alonzo was foiled as a result of Ariel. So this time they want to make another attempt, Antonio and Sebastian. So the correct answer to this is about making another attempt to murder Alonzo. See, always remember, in this case at least they are very clearly saying which scene they are asking you the particular reference from, because in many scenes there will be different things. So since you are limited to Act 1, Act 3, Scene 1, Scene 2 and Scene 3, you know exactly what is being spoken of in these 3 scenes in particular. Okay, let's move forward. Read the lines given below and choose the correct option given after each question. Miranda, I am a fool to weep at what I am glad of. Prospero, fair encounter of 2 most rare affections. Now, when you see a passage like this, you would obviously assume that it is these 2 people who are in conversation with each other. And unless you have read the textbook, you could get a little confused. To whom is Miranda speaking is the first question. Prospero? Well, Prospero is here, so you would obviously assume it's Prospero. It's Ferdinand. It's Ariel, Alonzo. This fellow obviously not possible. Ariel, she has never seen him because he's invisible to everyone except to Prospero. So who is she actually speaking? The correct answer is Ferdinand, while Prospero is talking to himself out here, right? Of what is Miranda glad? Ferdinand reciprocates her love, that she can leave the island, that her father has not been able to find out about her love, that she will be the queen of Naples, right? So she's obviously glad that Ferdinand reciprocates. He is also in love with her. What do her words reveal about her? She's simple, she's ambitious, she's humble, and she's compassionate. The words which have been given, the passage that has been given right on top, what do they convey about her? She's not ambitious, no. She's compassionate, but those are not the words. The words are not conveying that, right? Her simplicity is not being conveyed, right? So her humility is what is being conveyed by those lines which have been given in the passage in the examination paper. What is Prospero's reaction to her happiness? He's angry with his daughter for not following his commands. Not true. He's happy with her. He decides to punish her for confessing her love to Ferdinand. He decides to put obstacles in the way of her love. So the passage very clearly shows, when he's talking about those rare affections, that he is happy for her. Which of the following statements is not true about Miranda in the context of the quoted line? So please remember, whenever something like this is there, you need to read it a little more carefully because it is testing you, right? She respects her father. It is true. She has a streak of independence in her. She's conniving. She has a soft heart, right? So she has a soft heart, is true. She has a streak of independence. That is something which we have seen. She respects her father. She does. She's not conniving, right? So this becomes the right option because they are asking for something which is not true. Okay. So please kind of read the question very carefully. I find in some of the grammar MCQs that I've given that some of the students are kind of missing the little either punctuation mark or very little nuances which have been changed between options, and they're ending up marking the wrong option as far as the MCQs are concerned. So please be a little careful about that. Okay. What does Prospero mean by rare affection? Now, this is a little tricky. Okay. Interesting persons, pure souls, unusual emotions, and foolish sentiments. Okay. My guess is that he's referring to unusual emotions in this particular passage where he's talking about rare affections. You know, unusual kind of, rare means something which is not commonplace, right? So unusual emotions, that's what he's referring to out here. For what does Prospero go on to ask heaven's blessings? For the love that is growing between the young couple, for Ferdinand having come to the island, for Miranda being so biddable, for his efforts on their behalf to unite the two lovers. So the correct answer is for the love that is growing between the young couple. What does Miranda ask Ferdinand at the end of the scene? She asks him to make her his wife. She asks him to take her to Naples. She asks him to take her away from her father. She asks him to finish his task. Now, many of you could get confused between this and this, right? The correct answer is 8A. She asks him to make him his wife. What evidence do we have of Ferdinand's love for Miranda? He's willing to do the humble task for her in spite of being a prince. He's willing to elope with her. He's willing to make her his wife against, well, I mean, they've just left it open-ended. He shows the courage to fight Prospero for Miranda's sake. The correct answer is he's willing to do the humble task in spite of being a prince, that is carrying wood, whatever the task has been given by Prospero. When do the two plan to meet again? The next day, that evening, half an hour later, they decide to be together. Now, again, this is something which tests how carefully you have read the Tempest, right? The correct answer is half an hour later. That's what Miranda says to Ferdinand, right? Let's move on to the next passage. Antonio. What is he saying? I'll believe both, and what else does one credit come to me? What has Antonio just seen? Ariel singing a song, Ariel in the shape of a sea nymph, strange shape bringing in a banquet, the fact that their clothes are fresh even after the shipwreck. Now, this is something which was mentioned by Gonzalo, right? So, the correct answer is strange shapes bringing in a banquet. That is the right answer out here. What is Antonio's attitude in these lines? Now, these kind of questions you need to be a little careful about. Think very carefully. Is it pleasure? Is it fear? Is it surprise? Or is he being very skeptical about what he is seeing? The element that is being expressed is that of surprise. I'll believe both because he's surprised at what he is seeing out there, right? The third question, what does Antonio refer to as both? Ferdinand and Miranda, unicorns and the phoenix, Ariel and Caliban, nymphs and satyrs. Now, obviously, it cannot be this, it cannot be this, it cannot be this. The correct answer is unicorns and the phoenix. How does Gonzalo interpret the sight he has just seen? He feels that they are agents of punishment. He feels that they are islanders. Again here, if you have read the text very carefully, you will know what is he referring to, because he says he feels that they are natives of this particular island. Okay. Who is listening to their conversation? Now here, is a googly, because your natural instinct would be to mark Ariel. But the correct answer is Prospero, because he's at a place from where he can listen to the entire conversation, see whatever is happening out there. So correct answer is Prospero. Alonzo refers to the dumb discourse of the creatures. What does he refer to by these words? The signs made by the creatures, the frightening gestures, the dances of the creatures, their pleasant faces, right? So the correct answer is the signs made by the creatures, because dumb discourse is a reference to the dumb people making signs. So that is what this entire reference is to. Okay. Then let's move forward. What did the strange creatures bring for Alonzo and his group? Flowers, wine and stones. The correct answer is viands, because that is food. Okay. Why does Gonzalo say that Alonzo did not fear? In their youth, they had heard tales of strange people. There are many kinds of people inhabiting the earth. Since the island is a strange place, they should expect strange things here. None of the above. Okay. So the correct answer is, in their youth, they had heard tales of strange people. Okay. The ninth question, why can't the king and the group eat the food which has been brought in? Because suddenly the food vanishes. Okay, that's what the spirits managed to do. The last question, what do you conclude about Gonzalo's nature from his interaction with the others in the scene? He tries to find the good in everything. So that is because he's a good-natured person, unlike Antonio, Sebastian and Alonzo, who is very, very melancholy and sad. So Gonzalo is someone who tries to find the good in everything. So that brings us to an end of the Tempest related questions, which are part of the specimen paper. The big lesson from this is that you need to read the text very, very carefully. Understand the meaning of every word. What is Shakespeare trying to say in those lines? So MCQs expect a very different kind of preparation as opposed to the long format questions and answers. Okay, so your preparation has to focus on the text largely and meanings of every word. Okay, so I hope you will do that in order to do very well in the semester 1 board examinations. Thank you very much. All the best to you.